Hey guys, Tim Glom here for Thinking Caps, and this week I am excited to bring you Andy Gladwin. Now, Andy is the head of global mobile at CHEETAH Digital, and we talk about all kinds of things. We break down third-party messaging apps, Facebook, WeChat, WhatsApp, etc., what brands can do and activate on them right now, and also, are they contributing to the death of SMS? Spoiler alert, they are not. In fact, did you know that the global SMS market is worth $15 billion right now? If you add RCS, that's going to be about $30 billion come 2023. Not sure about RCS? Rich Communication Services. We break this ever fast growing channel down and what your brand's going to need to know and why it might affect you quickly. Also, have you ever tried conversational messaging? This is a great way to get people to spend more time with your brand. Andy shares some stats there. And also, it's a great way to collect zero-party data information from that string. We break all this down as well as regulation, acquisition strategies, etc. It's a ton of mobile know-how and knowledge. So let's dig in. Okay, guys, welcome back to another episode of Thinking Caps. I'm joined by Richard Jones, our CMO at CHEETAH Digital. I am Tim Glom, and we have a very special guest today who's always on the go because he's the head of mobile over here. He's the go-to-market, leading the go-to-market strategies for mobile for CHEETAH Digital. We have Andy Gladwin. Thank you for coming to us from the safety of your own home. It's April. We're still in the COVID mess. We're all at home. But Andy, thanks for coming to us. We know it's late there for you. Happy to have you.
Thank you, Andy. AKA Mr. Mobile is here to tell us all about what's going on in the world of mobile. So, Andy, I can see you wearing a Cubs hat there. I thought it would be fair enough if you're wearing a Cubs hat to give you a first question, which is a bit of a softball. So here you go. Just a few things. One or two have happened in mobile after the last 20 years. What does this actually mean for enterprises in the way in which they can actually engage their customers? Take it away.
Sure. Thanks for the softball off the start there. So I think you need to look at a few things. Firstly, technology's changed over the last 20 years quite considerably. You've gone from feature phones, your Nokia 3210 that you play Snake on, to picture phones, Motorola Razrs, the BlackBerry, and then going to smartphones, iOS, Android, wearables, and now connected devices in your home. And with that, there's been an evolution of the channels that it's been able to facilitate, and also that have been able to adopt onto mobile devices. So voice and SMS, and then MMS came next, email through BlackBerry, and then really the big, and not a huge headline, but the big game changer was really with the iPhone and Android devices enabling apps, wallets, location, social channels, messaging apps, all to suddenly take presence. And it's the last one, the messaging apps, which I think you've also seen from an enterprise perspective, a change in customer behavior over the last certainly 5 to 10 years, where they have really come from nowhere to be really the chosen form of communication.
Andy, can you give us an example of what you mean by a messaging app right now for those that might not know what those are?
Not a problem at all. So these are applications by third parties for messaging. So WeChat, WhatsApp, Viber, Line, Skype, KakaoTalk, all forms of messaging apps. And underlying this, you see themes that have come from this transition of technology and the devices. And one, the content has gone from being very basic to rich and interactive. The devices themselves have gone from convenience. You have your mobile when you break down your highway, versus now it's actually literally connected and a wearable. And then finally, engagement's moved. It's no longer transactional, but very much conversational in the manner in which mobile works. I think going to your question.
Andrew, can I just jump in here and go, there's obviously amazing things that have happened, but I still keep coming back to the fact that the first Nokia I had was unbreakable. And, all these advances have just led to very easily breakable phones. Discuss.
I'm completely with you. I remember where I was younger and everyone had the same charger. And that was just so easy. You charge it and you do that, I don't know, once every 3 days and you were fine. So not everything's gone right over this time in terms of technology. But when we look at the channels that are now being used on these devices, you have WeChat with 1.1 billion users. You have Facebook Messenger, 1.3 billion. WhatsApp have now got 2 billion users globally. And so for enterprises, to answer your question, you want to be on the devices that sit closest to customers, most personal to them, and you want to have the most frictionless experience with your customers. And that means trying to engage with them on the channel that is their preferential channel and their habitual channel, rather than forcing them onto other environments.
Wow. So billions and billions of people on these messaging apps, our whole human consumption and behavior has changed. I mean, I can see my kids growing up on things that we never had, like a rotary phone on the wall, right? Is this really the death of, like, with all these messaging apps, is this the death of what I use to talk to my mother and my father, SMS and just, simple push? Like, what's the state of that?
Yeah, it's certainly not the death of it. I think that there's going to be some displacement of use cases that move from different channels. But all in, I think that this is going to be different channels that continue to provide different use cases and values in an ecosystem that's going to grow. They're going to work side by side. SMS today is a $15 billion US marketplace, and it's still growing. Okay? And you go, okay, well, the boring 160 characters with no pictures, why do people use that? Well, it's ubiquitous. It works on any phone, smartphone, feature phone. You don't need to download an app. It has 90% read rates within 90 seconds. It has immediacy. There are click-through rates of 19%. I can go on with the stats, but the familiarity is another part. Every demographic can use it. There isn't that technical hurdle for different demographics. I don't know, how do I use WhatsApp? I've had lots of difficult conversations with my father about how to use WhatsApp and send pictures, and it's painful. Yeah. With SMS, it isn't. And recently, I obviously wrote a blog around how it could be better used during COVID-19 as just a great channel to cut through other channel difficulties in terms of deliverability to hit huge audiences in time-critical fashion for very important messages. Recently talking to Mobile Ecosystem Forum, and they highlighted a few additional things to this. So in India, there's an example whereby the infrastructure has been under such strain because the amount of people staying at home consuming the internet has created a blockage to other channels that use that, whereas SMS has had a greater surge in demand for companies like Tata to deliver important messages to consumers. And it's a trusted channel, right? Yep. Operators invest huge amounts into firewalls, into all kinds of algorithms to prevent spam and fraud. And with COVID-19, there are companies like Context who continue to develop their algorithms to protect people, saying, hey, why don't you open your account to ensure that everything's still working during coronavirus? Or, we want to make sure that you're able to receive aid. Can you open your bank details so that we can make sure we can deposit in there? These are the kind of crazy things that fraudsters are pivoting towards. And it's a very active industry that sits within SMS to defend against those kind of threats. The second part was around push, and from a consumer perspective, I don't see apps going anywhere. Think of the convenience of right now. I go on the train when I commute to work, and I want to see my entertainment. So I'll be there on Netflix, on Spotify, all on my phone. I might be playing a game. It could be baseball with the softball question, Richard. And then you go and you look at, okay, what about the convenience of travel, hospitality, utilities, where it's a great platform to have ease of use to get immediate call to actions, what you need. And finally, for brands, these are probably your most important advocates that have chosen to download your app, that they have said yes to receive push notifications. And you want to know, what does a good customer look like? And with that good customer, let's make sure that we take care of them. And for us, we see simple things like a high demand for features such as deep linking, whereby we can point them to the correct content for live content after a football match, whether it's highlights or whether it's post-match interviews, but things that are there that you want to have the relevance and make sure you nurture those important relationships that you have.
Yeah, it's quite quite interesting seeing from on the CHEETAH experiences side of things. Obviously, that that I've been doing as the CEO of Wayan that was acquired by CHEETAH for 10 years. In the last few years, there's been quite a demand for people to actually embed through deep linking CHEETAH experiences inside their branded mobile app in order to lift the level of engagement inside that app. I'll give you a really good example. Vodafone, with their My Vodafone app, have that in most of the markets they work in, and it's one of the most important mechanisms with which they communicate to the customers. But of course, the app itself is no offense, Vodafone, it's a little bit of a dry affair because it's how much data have I used, and it's a sort of essentially a way for governing the billing relationship between the brand and the consumer. And so that they wanted to deliver interactive experiences, quizzes, chances to win stuff, etc., inside the actual app itself, in order to give people a reason to go onto the app when it's not just checking data usage, to improve data collection inside the app, which is a very important channel. And also, interestingly, they used it to drive download of the app for customers that hadn't yet downloaded the app. So they promoted the experiences and said, the only way you can engage with it is in the My Vodafone app. And so in some markets, they had 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 people downloading the app in order to engage in a single experience. And, there was one experience they did in Italy, in the My Vodafone app, that had 1.2 million people actually interact with it. So, the deep linking of experiences inside apps is actually a great way to lift the engagement between the brand and the consumer. So an interesting aspect to the deep linking.
Absolutely. I think that you've broadened now the convenience utility into entertainment as well. So you've ruined my categories.
And what I'm really hearing you guys talk about is the emergence here of mobile, being able to reach people in app or SMS, but really it's a loyalty play for a lot of brands, right? So this is the way, I just bought some flights on United Airlines and, they send me push notifications all the time, and I bought flights there for holidays and some different things. So between messaging, being able to do it in mobile, being able to bring in your loyalty information, you mentioned before, who are the right people? What's the customer lifetime value of the right people in your audience? So it's interesting stuff. One thing I've found lately that I'd love to get your opinion on and tell me a little bit about how it works is conversational messaging that's happening in some of these mobile platforms. Obviously some of them are bot driven, some of them are human driven, but what's the trend look like there? And what's really all about the conversational messaging that's happening on mobile these days?
Yeah, to me, this is what I sincerely believe is going to be the biggest paradigm shift in how enterprises are going to be engaging with their customers in the future. And the future, as I said, is because a lot of the conversational channels, the messaging apps that we referred to earlier, where they may be mature from person-to-person communications, they aren't quite there for business messaging yet. But when they do, let's just consider how marketing is done today. And to me, it's a series of transactions. We're effectively going and saying, who's the right person down the right channel with the right content that's personalized, rich to drive relevant contextual message at the right time. And we throw the loaded dice to try and achieve whatever call to action there might be. Now, when we miss, if we miss, we then send another message, and we might tweak the content to make it more compelling. We might try a different channel. We might try a different time, but you end up in a series of transactions at different times when you're conversing with a customer. In all honesty, you're not conversing. And this is what conversational messaging actually enables you to do, to listen, have attention, and control the loop. Now, my favorite stat is one by a company called My Elephant in France, recently acquired by Cinch, and they have done some research about customer attention span. So for a simple message, text message, just text in there, the average attention span is 3 seconds, okay? As soon as you make that a rich message with pictures, videos, interactivity, scratch screens, it goes up to around 45 seconds of customer attention span. Now, when that goes to sending a conversational message and having a conversation with the client down one of these channels, they see the average attention span being 120 seconds, 2 minutes. Now, tell me from your experiences working with enterprises, an enterprise who would not want to have a greater time to be conversing with their customers. It's not around, oh, we've had more FaceTime with them, but in this time you can learn, you can listen, you can understand why do you not want to pursue whatever call to action? How would you prefer to operate? Or, oh, you had some questions, we can resolve those. Now you can continue to gain the value of whatever that value exchange may be when they said yes to having a relationship with your brand. And this to me is just incredibly interesting, exciting, but really the future and foundation for how I see enterprises communicate with their customers on mobile in the future. And in case that wasn't clear, these are the habitual, preferential channels right now that customers are using to engage with their friends and family. These have these natively built within them for the ability for enterprises to benefit from in the future.
We can't hear Richard. He just went on mute. I'll talk for him.
No. Sorry, I'm off mute. The perils of doing this from home. I've got homeschooling going on in the other room. But you mentioned about the conversational messaging, and I'll give you an example, kind of where one of the things that we've seen with clients. So, our services team can very quickly take any form and turn it into essentially a chat bot. So you have this conversational messaging style of data collection as people are interacting with an experience. And we whipped up one concept for the confectionery brand Maltesers, part of Mars, which was essentially a kind of chatbot called Malt Damon that basically helped them get movie recommendations, and then was entered into a chance to win something at the back end of the experience. But just another example of how I think all marketers are looking at ways to embrace conversational messaging to create a new and more interactive format to engage with consumers, not just for doing things like customer support, but actually for doing things like marketing campaigns themselves, which I think is an interesting development.
Yeah, well, let me ask this question, because a lot of this, as I mentioned, in the question, chatbot. I mean, I know that there's a lot of chatbots powering this stuff, and I agree with you. I've been on the customer end of this, where I can tell they are data mining me, right? We like to help marketers take unknown contacts into known through experiences and build your database, first party, zero party data. These mobile experiences, these conversational experiences can also append right into your data platform, which our customer engagement suite does. But give me the lowdown on chatbots, and really, is this a critical mass yet? Like, is this scalable? Is everybody doing this? Can this be turned on tomorrow, or are we talking bleeding edge here right now?
So I think there are two parts to this. The channels themselves, I feel, haven't hit critical mass in terms of penetration rates, and those that have, with the exception of Line and WeChat maybe, and potentially Facebook Messenger, the majority of these are relatively embryonic in terms of their commercial models, their data security, and they're refining final points before they can truly go to market. When it comes to chatbots, though, many enterprises have these already, and they're really directed towards web chat rather than the new channels where it would need to pivot towards. For me, there are three types of chatbot. One is those for contained and closed conversations. The next is for open, where you need to have NLP and interpretation and categorize an open conversation down to a purpose and then try and fulfill it. And then the final one is humans. And for me, I actually experienced this recently in a hotel in Sydney, whereby I'm really fun, by the way, spoiler alert, to travel with. But I, over breakfast, decided to test the conversational platform of the hotel I was staying in. And it was very impressive. They had Apple Business Chat, they had text message, they had Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and their own app. And I thought, well, let's try lots of different conversations. And it was so good. I thought, this is one of the most advanced chatbots I've worked with. They said, oh, no, we're a human. And I was like, okay, maybe you're not that good. So I called their bluff and said, I'm wearing a check shirt. I'll see you in 5 minutes down in the lobby. And sure enough, I went face-to-face and met the customer service team. And it was a combination of an overwhelming sense of embarrassment and nerdiness in this amalgamation of just general awkwardness. But that's the third one. You can have, for service-led industries, you may not actually need the technology of chatbots, but you can have humans behind the right platforms to deliver this.
So, Andy, one of the buzzwords that we hear kind of a lot about making the rounds is RCS. Could you explain to the audience what this is? Give your opinion.
Not a problem at all. So it stands for Rich Communication Services. This is a native conversational messaging product that's being deployed within Android devices. So where today you get your SMS within the Android messaging client, that same client in the future and present for some users already will have the ability to have RCS messages. Now, what is an RCS message? What's the value of this? Why all the noise? Well, firstly, it's going to be there on Android. So suddenly you remove the regionalization. It's to do with an operating system. You don't need to download the app, and therefore anyone who has an Android, sending a message to another Android that's RCS enabled will be able to engage. But the features themselves, you can have branding. You have verification of your brand to entrust users that it is going to be whoever they're going to be talking to, Virgin Trains or Subway. You have carousels and rich cards. So let's choose which Nissan you want to test drive, or let's choose which house I want to view for a rental. It's integrated within your OS, so you're able to access your voice client, to connect to your calendar, your location, and suddenly you're almost going into the nucleus of a phone operating system with a conversational channel that just has a huge amount of potential. Mobile Squared put some research out on this, and they estimate that SMS and RCS combined will be a $28 billion marketplace in 2023. This has huge potential from the increasing reach of it, but really the functionality across an operating system globally. So very exciting. There are some caveats. Sorry to break the excitement momentum with it, but penetration rates aren't there yet. It requires operators to have the right infrastructure in place. Some have done a better job than others. So in Japan and the US, they have created joint ventures. In the US, it's the cross-channel messaging initiative where they've used a single supplier, Synchronos, partner with WIT, to make sure that there is a common technical interface for people to engage with. But thereafter, depending on the country, you have it with your operator, the right handset, potentially SIM card. And then after that, will Apple join to make it one single channel for all smartphone devices rather than for Android devices? The final thing is the commercial model, where I've been in lots of meetings with the GSMA and others where we're not allowed to talk about commercials, but in terms of model, everyone's got their view. Should it be transactional? Should it be a session-based model? Should it be a hybrid? And then what are the rates? Is it based off the back of SMS? Is it based off the back of push? Where do you go? So in a nutshell, this is super exciting. There's a reason why there's all the noise behind it. Google have been making a load of noise as well towards it, understandably, but there's a few hurdles to get through before it can really be something that's easily adopted by the marketplace and go to hit the penetration rates where I think the business messaging will fly and hit those statistics by Mobile Squared of 28 billion marketplace in 2023.
Wow. That's a lot of opportunity there. I mean, this is exciting to me to watch. I'm not going to say the death of the website, but I mean, literally, we are a mobile generation at this point. We're all mobile friendly across the globe. I mean, China has 1.5 mobile devices per person or something. This could really change things. This could change everything, especially for direct to consumer brands and commerce. I mean, it's right there at your fingertips. And like you said, if the platform itself, the RCS, is kind of verifying, or the aggregators are verifying the brands, that this is a unique, branded experience from a trusted entity.
Tim, can you really say that you're the mobile generation when you were born in the early 70s?
Well, they say you reinvent yourself every 3 years or so. So I'm kind of young. Still have my hair. If I shave, I might look 6 months younger. But yeah, this is cool stuff, man. You're in a great space. What's the regulation on all this stuff? I mean, we're dealing with GDPR and compliance and all that from data acquisition for our customers. I mean, obviously the death of the cookie, is creating disruption. What are the regulation pitfalls? Are there any other pitfalls in that area when it comes to mobile?
So I guess for the new channels, there are different companies running it. So when you look at the OTTs, you'll have Facebook, you'll have their own policies of what content can be shared. You'll have, for instance, WhatsApp, where they have their business messenger. You're not allowed to use it for promotional material, but you can use it for transactional and service. And generally, they are set up for a P2A, so people sending messages into applications or businesses. So the flow is different. So all of these different channels have different nuances in terms of what's permitted by the owner at the bottom of the chain. For RCS, that's the operators. And so they have tried to put in different ways in which programs get signed off. But I still think, unfortunately, my background in SMS is where there has been probably the most complication. It's something that every client really talks about, where they go, okay, we're doing this, but we need to understand, how do the data laws change? How do the consent change? How does, the sender ID? Am I allowed to send through a brand name, a short code, a long number? Am I able to send at different times of the day? In France, you can't send on public holidays and Sundays. And so you have all these little nuances. And fortunately, at CHEETAH, we're in a very strong position to cater for that with our compliance team and local partners. But I think it actually, Tim, with all respect, it goes beyond just the regulation. It's around best practice, right? Because you can go there and comply as much as you want, but create something that's just dry and not looking at what's the right experience for the customer. You can be in the letter of the law, but actually not really protecting your customers. And so that's where I think that the local understandings for different verticals and geographies of not just what ticks the box from a regulatory perspective, but what's going to have the greatest impact is really important to make sure that our brands engage with their clients with the highest confidence levels, wherever that might be in the world.
So, Andy, before we let you go, I started off the beginning of this podcast giving you a bit of a softball. I want to throw a swerve ball at you now. What's your favorite pre-smartphone phone that you owned?
Well, that's a tough one. I would say in device, and this is really sad, it would be the pager. I used to get my football scores on it, really time-critical information. For mobile device, I think it's the Nokia 3210, where I've probably lost a completely inordinate amount of time to Snake. I miss that game. I don't know why. As I said, technology is advanced, but for some simple minds, I still miss Snake. How about yourself?
Nokia 8210. I could drive a truck over that thing. I've still got it somewhere in my house, and it's locked away in a drawer. It's unbreakable.
Fantastic.
Well, this has been enlightening, man. We got to have you back and dig into some of these things. I'm sure we're going to have some questions from our viewers and whatnot, so we'd love to have you back. We appreciate your time, man. This has been great.
I really appreciate it.
Okay, well, that's it. Andy Gladwin will be back to you with more Thinking Caps. Thanks for watching, and check out our other episodes here on the Apple iTunes podcast.